Oh, Lord, we're live. Somebody did it again to me. All right. Somebody did it again to me. So it came on. Can you share your video, Jamie?
Can I?
Hey guys, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Can I what?
Share your video. Turn your video on. In other words. All right, we will get this working, I promise. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Kara. Loretta, Monica. Robert, Rebecca. Great, good to see everybody. Jamie, can you share your video?
He just dropped off.
He
He may
gone.
be joining back in.
He's gonna come back in, I think. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hide. See if I can do this here. Here he comes. And I gotta upgrade him. Upgrade him to co-host. Yes. There you go.
Can you see me?
Not yet. Turn your video on.
What? I keep.
A video down the left-hand corner says video, and see them where it says video. There he is. It does work. All right, fantastic. Well, while we're waiting for the rest of the crew, we have 37 folks here. Welcome, welcome. Glad you decided to join us today. I am coming from the great state of Maryland in Woodstock, which is just outside of Ellicott City, which is just north of Columbia, and which is just outside of DC. So whoever's the farthest away, let us know where you're from. Indianapolis, love it. Phyllis, nice to see you. Where are you coming in from? You can put that in the chat. Let us know where we are. How come I can't open the chat up in a separate window? I have no idea. Pop out. There we go. That's what I wanted. All right. South Carolina, Mindy's from Dayton, Ohio. Fantastic. Chicago, who's the farthest so far? I think Indy, maybe? Chicago? I don't know which one's farther away. New Orleans. Loudoun County, Virginia. You don't count. New Mexico, Geneva. There we go. In Tennessee, I might be heading there tomorrow to Nashville, Tennessee. Love that. Washington, D.C. Awesomeness. San Francisco. There you go. That's it. San Antonio. Nice. Burke, Virginia. That's near you, isn't it, Jamie? Burke?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not far. It's not far from you. Oh, that is very large. Let's not do that. There we go. Keep that there. All right. Where else? Seattle. I think Seattle might have it. We had a briefing at 11 a.m. Somebody from Alaska was there. That was pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Well, welcome everybody. Glad that you decided to join us today, and we'll get our act together and get this cooking for too long. California, Maryland. Okay. St. Louis. So Kim Whitmore, my whole connection with St. Louis is very simple. Fitz's cream soda. Woo, that is the best. My son and I did a Route 66 trip from Chicago all the way out to the Santa Monica Pier, and we emptied every grocery store of Fitz's cream soda on the route. Anyway, so that's awesome. Love that place. Awesome. And Santa Maria, California. Love it. Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to do this right and share this. The evolving federal workspace. That's what we're talking about here. Jamie Jackson is in the house with me. He's the Vice President of Metro Office's Federal Division. Welcome, Jamie. How you doing?
Fine, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And this is fantastic. I tell you what, this is a hot issue. I know that because these are all the agencies that have responded. They may not all show up, but because apparently the president's speaking right now. He didn't clear that with us. Just saying, Jamie. He didn't clear it with us. So, but we want to welcome you. There's a couple on here that I have I've been in this business for a while, but the Institute of Museum and Library Services is brand new, as well as the United States Access Board. I don't know what those agencies are, but welcome to you. Maybe somebody can explain those to me later. I'll look it up. But we want to welcome everybody here. We have folks from just about every agency that I can imagine. A lot of folks here from FEMA as well, which is fantastic, and the VA for that matter, because we will be talking about those things today. I'll give you some introductions to Jamie and who he is and how he got to be where he is and why he's here today. The briefing controls, as well as the initiatives, some of the issues that you're facing as agencies, as well as individuals that are working with agencies. The impact of COVID. Imagine, I don't know if you ever heard that, but we're dealing with some COVID issues apparently. And we'll get to your Q&A throughout this process. Hopefully you'll be engaged, and some action steps that you can make and procurement options potentially to help you get to where you want to go, and additional resources. This will be the best briefing ever. Phyllis says, lays out a sensible plan for flexible workspace options. Fantastic. Love that. We're going to be talking about that, right, Jamie?
Yep.
Yep. And Michael from HRSA here from other operating divisions on how they're handling the new workplace scenarios. Love that. We're going to talk about some of the ways that you've done this in the past. Jamie, Ed from DOI, I received factual information. No BS is what Ed's saying. No BS. Carrie from HHS, and that is IHS. That's what autocorrect does to you every single time. I can improve the workplace capabilities in a cost-effective manner. Love that. And Robert from BLM, Land Management, I gain perspective of how other bureaus are reacting to the new work climate post-pandemic. Love that. There's a lot of activity there. Kathlena from VHA extends teleworking 100% capability into the future for areas that have been doing it successfully for the past couple of years. Kathlena, I think teleworking is going to be a part of this for the future, right? And Craig from FEMA Region 5 describes immediate ways to reduce office costs. We're going to actually use a lesson from FEMA, right? Right, Jamie?
Yep.
Yep. Jamie's just full of words today. Angela from the VA, the speaker is awesome. You got to be awesome. That'll be the best briefing ever if you're awesome, Jamie.
We'll be awesome.
Lawrence from C. Sosa, a diagram of this process can be given out. We're going to be talking about multiple things about the diagram. Please address the ideal workplace configuration for hoteling. Great question, Deborah. We're going to be talking about hoteling and what hoteling looks like now. Stephanie from FMC, is there any information on how agencies decreases in footprints will affect the multi-year contracts that have already been signed? Great question. And I'm not sure that we're going to answer that exactly, but we're going to show you a way that it's been done in the past with two specific agencies, FEMA and VA being those. Minion, enable agency to hire the best talent. Oh, this is big for the job, to include diversity, equity, and inclusion, no matter where they prefer to work. Minion, you nailed something right here, Minion from NASA. And that's something that Chuck Hardy was talking about 2 years ago, right? Right?
We will talk about that.
We were going to talk exactly about that. Darlene from HUD, how agencies can be more supportive of flexible workplace requirements. Yes. Linda from EPA, is this anticipated to be rolled out across all federal agencies? Great question. And we're working on that. And you may be able to help, Linda from the EPA. And James from Justice, is there a method where agencies can scale up and down usage and still have dedicated space? You couldn't be more on spot, James. We can't share space with other commercial companies, right? So some agencies have restrictions on being in the same area, right? Very good. Love it, love it, love it. Terry, if you would please, this is not iLab capabilities. Hold on a second. That it'll be, this is not right. Is this did I not pull up the right thing? I think I have it, but I'm hoping that this is not right, because I erased all that stuff, but we're going to be doing presentation and case studies. We will be doing, I can promise you that. And if I have to relaunch this in the middle, I will. Hey, it's technology. All right, so briefing controls. If you're living under a rock and you have no idea how Zoom works, you can go up and click the side by side and make us bigger, smaller, and see what you would like to see. And participation is absolutely simple, because you can, here's what we want to do. Since we have 106 people here, we want to make sure if you can put all your Q&A, or Q's, your questions in the Q&A, or raise your hand so we can dialogue with you, that would be fantastic. And the chat can be used for us posting the rest of the documents so that you can see them. Does that sound like a plan? And then why in the world did you guys decide that you wanted to come here today? Are you a federal employee? You have multiple choices, by the way. You can pick as many as you want. Federal employee want to learn about the workplace? Love that. Are you working on the workspace plan for your agency? Are you in HR and responsible for hiring? Do you handle real estate transactions and leases? Do you manage facilities? Or my boss made me come? And that's exactly what we want to know. If you can let us know, because most of this, there's going to be a lot of information. This is what I thought, Jamie. There's a lot of folks here that are employees are saying, how can we work the way that we want to work, right? But there's other folks here that are responsible for establishing how they're going to be working in the future. So I love this. And I can't believe nobody picked the boss made me come. Can't believe that. A quick disclaimer, just so that everybody knows, this is not, you're not gonna believe this, Jamie, but this is not affiliated or endorsed by GSA or any agency. It's provided to the audience for informational purposes only. We got this from GSA. All participation is voluntary and is not a commitment to buy from any vendor or purchase from anybody that's on here. All right, this is definitely not the right presentation, guys. So hold on a second. I need to pause this screen and I need to go back here and get the right one. So we're going to have to redo this for the folks for that. 1 second. 1 second. I promise this is going to work at some point. This might not be good. Where did we go here? Hold on a second, guys. Let's try this one. That is not right. All right, we have a technical issue here because I had a whole bunch of things that we were going through and somehow we have lost it. Hold on 1 second, Jamie. I promise I'm gonna get this right. And I'm gonna share this out while we're doing that. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Where is this? Well, now. I must have, 1 second, guys. Jamie, go ahead and tell everybody who you are. I'm going to share this. I'll share this slide out and you can tell us who Metro Offices is while I am trying to figure out what happened to the rest of these things. Something happened to our slide. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, my name is Jamie Jackson, and I work with Metro Office and Metro Federal. We're a private woman-owned company. We've been in business for 32 years, providing flexible workspace in primarily the Washington, D.C. area. But about 11 years ago, we did an analysis and decided that we believe there could be a possibility to provide flexible workspace turnkey for federal agencies where we customize the facility for them and run it for them under a services contract. And over the past 11 years, we've done $53 million in federal contracts under this flexible workspace. Our partner is Court Furniture, and Court Furniture is the largest provider of rental furniture in the world, and it's owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway organization. And I'll explain to you in just a few minutes why we picked Court and why the combination of our two companies, we've been able to offer a real flexible solution to the marketplace.
And it is unique. And you have a couple of things that we'll get to as a matter of fact, and I got it working, guys. So that's good news. All right. So why the flexible workspace, Jamie?
The flexible workspace has really come about for two reasons over the last few years. The first one is COVID. And COVID absolutely has caused flexibility to be the most important component of the workspace plans today, because whoever knew that COVID was going to come, it hit, you couldn't go to the office. How are we going to operate? The second reason that flexible workspace in the government is going to become very important is because the Nina Albert, who is the commissioner of the PBS division of the GSA, She said every agency must devise a COVID workplace strategy that should have maximum flexibility in their plan. So we're going to show you the options that you have to be determined as flexible and how you can use it going forward. And we're going to show you some case studies that we have actually done this, and you can see the results of what we've done. Recently, I was on a panel with Dave, and Chuck Hardy, who is the acting GSA architect, said this: the past IT initiatives allowed the government to operate during the pandemic as telework was mandated. The distributed workforce worked. And the reason they were able to do it is because they had planned ahead of time to have the technology in place in case something like this happened. But then he went on to say that the government will reduce its footprint. And that's what we're going to show today, different ways to do that.
And what I love about what Chuck was talking about is he knew, I mean, we were already moving in a different direction. And he knew that in order to attract the right people and to retain the right people, it's going to have a huge impact on the workforce in order for the government to be able to recruit those folks, right? So
exactly.
Let's talk about this.
Let's go down this slide, because this is a really key slide. The question is, why do agencies need flexibility? Well, there's been a whole host of things that have come out over the last few years that point to why the agencies need flexibility. The first one is your mission is not permanent. Things continue to change. Every business, every agency in America today realizes that they don't know today what their mission is going to be 10 years from now. They can say a big piece of it, but different tweaks in your mission continues to change, and you need a workspace opportunity to fulfill it. Second one is hiring new talent. As someone asked the question, what can I tell new talent when I want to hire them and they want to work where they want to work, how they want to work, etc. So flexibility gives you the ability to hire the best talent, as Chuck Hardy told us, and let them work where they want. Swing space during expansion, reduction, or a move. Your facility needs to be upgraded, or you move into a different location to downsize, and you need a space in the meantime to operate. You want to set up a project or a task force. It's not going to be long-term. It's going to be 1, 3, up to 5 years. Why go out and take down long-term space, buy the furniture, etc.? Do it in a flexible workspace, and then when you're through, just walk out. Reduction of real estate costs. There's no question when you go to flexibility, you're going to reduce real estate costs. Diversifying real estate assets is a big one. I like to say that in the future, agencies as well as businesses are going to manage the real estate assets like a bond portfolio. You don't want them all in 10-year plus space, and you want to add flexible space so you have the right balance of long-term and short-term. And then employee retention. After we've come out of COVID, keeping the talent, and they want to work a certain way, they want to work where a certain way. And so flexibility gives you that capability.
Love it. And that it is so critically important for a lot of the folks here are the ones that are asking the question is number one, what are my options going to be? And number two, can I have some flexibility in that? We had a bunch of people who were talking about, hey, I want to continue working from home, and we need, or wherever I want to. So let's talk about the characteristics of flexibility here, Jamie.
Now here, when we talk about the characteristics of flexibility, what are the key components? First is the term, it's primarily short term. The location, it's where you want to work. The number of seats. How do I need space for 100 people? Do I need space for 20 people, for 200 people? The space configuration. How many offices do I need? How many conference rooms do I need? How many telework desks do I need, etc.? The furniture configuration. What type of furniture do you want? Safety and healthcare going to be big coming out of COVID, that we got to meet the government standards now post-COVID restrictions on layouts, etc. Turnkey. You want a flexible solution that is turnkey. You don't have to do anything but go in, walk in, do it for 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is, and walk out. Don't be stuck with long-term unused assets, as many agencies are today. And then rapid delivery. How quickly can we get it up and running?
And that's one of the critical things. And FEMA knows how to do that, knew how to do that. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Take it.
Now,
So
this slide is really important.
Yep.
Because when you use the term flexibility, there are a number of different solutions in the marketplace. So let's go through them. The one on the far left is traditional space. That's the GSA long-term 10-year fixed rate, another 5 years of options or whatever. That's the long-term traditional solution. In the middle of the slide, we have co-working memberships, and that's the ability for an agency under the new IDIQ contract to be able to secure the right for your employees to go in and work in a co-working company.
Real quick.
In the middle is individual
Jamie,
desk and meeting rooms at a co-working site where you could reserve a conference room for the day, an office for the day or whatever, and working from home and telework. The main thing we want to talk about today is these two solutions in the middle of the page, and that is a turnkey workspace where the flexible space is customized for exactly what you need for the term you needed. Or you go into a co-working center and we carve out a space and we build it out exactly like you like it. Those are the two we're going to be primarily talking about today. But all of these will be part of the asset portfolio of agencies going forward.
Yeah, that's a fact. And real quick, the slide that was not right last time, if you can pop in there, Terry, if you can pop in the links for the GSA link to the IDIQ. That's really important because that is one of the things that you have access to, which we are going to talk about right now. What is your biggest workplace issue? Is it teleworking? Is it short-term office needs? That's daily to 1 year. You might want to do some flexible workspace. That is the one that we're talking about that GSA has with the IDIQ. A 1 to 5 year workspace plan where you have this gapper. That's the problem. That's a problem area. And we're going to tell you why it's a problem area and how much of a problem area that is. So the 1 to 5 year workspace are managing your traditional lease requirements over 5 years because of what Jamie said. Hey, you don't know what it's going to look like in 10 years. You don't know what your mission focus is going to be, and understanding what flexible workspace really means. Love it. Love it. Let us know about that. And let's keep going here with what you're talking about as workspace as a service. What does that mean when you talk about a federal agency solution to workspace as a service?
Well, our solution, Flexible Workspace as a Service, is where we provide a turnkey facility built out exactly the way you want it. Furniture, utilities, communication, IT, etc. We have a full-time support staff person there to manage the services contract, and it's a scalable and applicable primarily to 1 to 5 year terms. Go to the next slide.
I will.
And because we partnered with Court, and Court brings their furniture as a service solution as part of our solution, we are able to offer you scalability. Go up, go down, change the different configurations of your agency's portfolio that you need in the flexible space. And we're able to provide you true continuous flexibility through the entire length of the contract. And I'll show you a case study of how valuable that turned out to be. Now, the first case study I'll talk about is FEMA. I know we have some FEMA people on the call today. And at the bottom, you see where FEMA published a white paper on our engagement. and Dave is posting it so you can see it. They were losing their lease, and they were out looking through the GSA to find a short-term solution when they were dealing with the Hurricane Sandy up in New Jersey. They couldn't find it. They came to us, and in 30 days, we built out an as-is space for 240 people that met all of their requirements. They had immediate workspace, and they dramatically cut their real estate cost. In that white paper that's been posted, they went in and showed you the value of flexible workspace as opposed to, in this case, as opposed to doing a long-term GSA standard lease. And I think many of the questions has been raised earlier. When they see that case study, they'll see the facts. As someone said, I want to see real facts. The FEMA put it in that white paper, exactly what we did for them.
And what's important to know is that that can be used as a blueprint. It's not the easiest solution for acquisition. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but to know that it has been done by multiple agencies. And the next one we're going to talk about is the VA, but the
by the way,
one, yeah, go ahead.
Dave, FEMA was done through the GSA.
And what do you mean by that it was done by that?
We did the contract with the GSA, and the GSA had their agreement with the New Jersey. VA was directly with VA, but FEMA was through the GSA.
Gotcha. And that had to be created individually with the GSA because there wasn't a vehicle to do it. That's
and
when
FEMA finished that engagement, they moved into a long-term GSA contract, which was the right move because they had finished that Sandy hurricane facility that they needed.
Right.
The VA is an interesting scenario, and many of you people are throughout the United States, and we offer this solution anywhere in the United States. The VA contacted us and wanted to have a facility in Eatontown, New Jersey. We didn't know where Eatontown was, but we told them, give us 3 weeks and we'll put together a proposal for you, which we did. That engagement lasted over 10 years. It went through 4 contracts, including options. And at the end of the 10 years, it actually went into a GSA long-term lease in exactly the same building that we had them in. And it was right because at that point, they were established in what they needed. But they were forming 2 new organizations. And through the growth of those organizations, our ability to continue to change as their needs change tremendously gave them the capability to scale up, to scale down. We went from 2 divisions to 3 divisions, eventually to 6 divisions. We had to keep reconfiguring the furniture and the type of furniture to get the number of people that they needed. We moved them several places, so we had to provide swing space while we were building out capability. And it turned out to be a huge winner for the VA because they were up and running very quickly, and over 10 years was able to mature the TAC and the OIT organizations within the VA.
And I think this slide says the most of anything because John Adamitis is the contracting officer. And oh, by the way, it was originally for how long? How long was your initial engagement with the VA?
A year and a half with 2 6-month options, I think.
So a year and a half with 2 6-month options. There's no other place to go for that type of a scenario because that's not within the traditional space within the VA, and it was outside the scope of what would be any traditional lease. So it created a great deal of difficulty that you guys filled very quickly because that was actually happening because Congress said you must create these new divisions. And if Congress says, boom, you better get it done. And as a result, that's exactly what happened in this instance. So tell us what who John Adamitis is and what he's saying here.
Well, John Adamitis was our contracting officer for the entire 10-year engagement, and he's still with the VA, and he said he's willing to talk to anybody about the value that this flexibility brought to him. But they continued to change their model and we were able to go up. We started at about 150 people. We went as high as 283. We went down. And I think at the end of the deal, there were about 270 plus or minus number of seats. But we were able to manage that contract through the entire time and then pass them over to a long-term GSA standard lease. And you can see his quotes that it was a very, very successful engagement with the VA, and total flexibility. That was the key to this whole thing, because they continued to have to add people, decrease the number of people, change their internal structure, the type of seating that they needed, et cetera. And we literally had to move them several times to get bigger facilities so that they could expand.
And that it's so important for folks to realize, especially the planners. There's a bunch of folks that are planners, that this gap piece has been solved by two different agencies. You've done it multiple times, but these are the two case studies that you can look at. And the one with VA just wrapped up when, Jamie?
It just wrapped up in April, excuse me, June or July of last year.
All right.
We had to extend it till they finished their building, but we finished it last year. And they were very, very pleased at the way we managed. But the key to it was flexibility. And this was before flexibility was even the buzzword out in the marketplace. We were able to continually change to meet their internal requirements. As their needs changed, we were able to move with them. And it was a very, very successful engagement for the VA.
So I'm going to get to the procurement process in just a minute, because it's not the most simple way to do things, but each one of these had to be created in a different environment, because the contract, let's talk about the contract vehicle real quick for GSA. That contract vehicle, that the IDIQ that they created for, which is kind of the replacement for hoteling, is for daily use all the way to a year, right? And that is kind of a shared space kind of environment. And you guys do this type of thing in the DC metro area, right? You have those
correct.
types of buildings, right? Where you already do that. So that's one part of it. But there's other piece and when we've been talking with Chuck Hardy about this regularly because of this gap piece. And one of the challenges is that it has to go through an unsolicited proposal process, or it goes through the you need to know what it is that you're doing so that you can submit it. It can be created into an RFP, but it doesn't fit into the standard GSA model. And that's why even though FEMA ran through GSA, you brought all the reps and certs, right?
That's
Or
right.
the reps and warrants. What is that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That.
When we did the FEMA deal, we stepped up and provided them all the reps and warrants that they normally get from a landlord. And that's how we were able to do it through the GSA. But the key here, Dave, is what you're saying. There is no current schedule with the GSA for a 5-year or less real estate transaction, a services contract like we provide, except under the IDIQ. And the IDIQ specifically does not cover a built out real estate exactly the way you want it. So the way we would go through this process is just like we've done with the VA, et cetera, for the last few years, is we understand their needs. Then we give them back a proposal laid out exactly the way they want it. We make any adjustments that they think they need. We need more offices. We need more conference rooms. Change this. We need to add this. And then we give them a proposal and hopefully get to a point where they have a sole source justification and the approval is done. And we go for a short-term, 5 years or less contract. And during that 5 years, we're able to provide these agencies complete capability of changing because of our relationship with court and our ability to change out the furniture needs, et cetera, as their internal agency requirements change.
Because it's not a capital expenditure either, right?
That's
It's-
right. It's a
you-
services contract. So
Right.
they're not signing a lease. They're not signing with any vendor but us. And anything that goes wrong, they just call us and we take care of it. All the vendors, we're the ones that have the relationship with. So they don't have to spend their time doing any of that.
And that's, for folks that want to talk to somebody about that, I think John Adamitis is a great example of somebody that's already done it. And he can go through the past performance, how it was created for the VA. It was already available space, but it was created and then recreated over and over with the flexibility to do what was necessary for the mission as it changed. And I can't agree with you more, especially after talking with folks at PBS, that every agency is really looking at both. Where are we? Where are we right now for what does it look like for reopening? And then what does it look like for the continuing of the leases that we currently have? And do you really want to be roped into that for that long? And I think as it's changed dramatically, when we first started talking about this years ago, there might have been maybe 2%, 2 or 3% of the organizations needed something like this. And it had to be a weirdo kind of thing, like what was necessary for FEMA, right? Where now, because of the folks that are here saying, hey, I want to know how we can change our current environment. What's it going to look like? Yeah. Agencies have got to do this to allow for that continuous flexibility. How do you do it any other way without roping yourself into 10 years of a lease and potentially having space that you're not using properly, right?
Well, that's exactly the issue, Dave, is once they start looking at their real estate assets, and as the commissioner said, they need to design a plan with complete flexibility. There will be a percentage of their real estate assets in long-term GSA needs, because that's the most effective. But there will be a large percentage, 30, 40% of their real estate that they're going to want to turn into flexible. Just think, if you have a large number of people teleworking today, but you need to bring some of those people together to do a project, a 2-3 year project. There's no reason for them to have long-term 10-year space to do that. And it may not be the best location where the current space is. So they can come together and we can take down the space and build it out the way they want it and run it for them for 2, 3, 4 years. They don't have to spend any time on any of the vendors. We deliver them a turnkey package. And then when it's finished, they walk out and they're back teleworking or whatever they want to do. This is the way that agencies and and commercial companies going forward are moving to a hybrid combination of long-term real estate assets and a big percentage in flexible assets, because the needs of the agency, the needs of the employees, and the need of the people you want to hire continues to change.
And you're not suggesting that you're the only company that's going to be doing this. It's going to be done.
There will be multitude of companies, we hope, we know, will be in this. We just happen to be the only one that's been doing it for the past 10 years. But because of the way that the government is changing and the workspace needs, there will be a number of companies involved in this business. And we look forward to more people being providers of this service.
And it's coming. I mean, the whole GSA IDIQ, by the way, meeting what your new workspace requirements. If you're looking for less than a year, there's a GSA IDIQ. Again, Terry, if you can pop that link in there, if you have it for the GSA IDIQ, if you need something for less than a year, that's the place to go. It already exists. And if you want some additional information, we'll get the folks involved from GSA for you. We'll pass the information on to them. But the 1 to 5 year solution for your agency, only you got to look at how it was done in the past, right? And then formulating how that should work. We have 2 examples here from the VA and FEMA. You can schedule a needs assessment and then prep your procurement people for an unsolicited proposal, because that's really the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, right now, that's it, and that's how you've done it in the past. And if they're not familiar with it, I can get you in touch with some people like John or other folks that have done unsolicited proposals. Most importantly, make sure you're touching your employees and asking them what they need. That is going to create the workforce and environment and culture that you need for your agency to be able to be successful in the future. So with that, I'm going to ask the question in the poll to say, what do you want now? How can we assist your agency? Do you have an immediate need for flexible workspace? I'd like to schedule an assessment to determine if it's practical for you to be able to do. I'd like to help with my agency's plan for flexibility, or connect me with GSA for short-term space for less than 1 year. Let us know what you need, and we'll make sure you get to where you want to go. And by the way, this is what it should have looked like earlier. You can raise your hand, or you can ask a Q&A. So yes, let us know what we have here. What do we have? There we go. That's in there. All right. You got the that'll connect you also to the people at GSA if you want to. And let me see, I'm going to go back to a couple of the questions that we had before. And if anybody else has any questions, you can raise your hand, or you can pop them in the Q&A. And I'm going to pause this and run all the way back to where we were looking at a couple of these questions.
The fact that they say they need help on the agency plan for flexibility, and we'll be happy to help them in that regard. But if they go back to that slide on types of flexibility, that's what they can be working to build out a plan to offer the different types of flexibility that their agency is going to need going forward.
This one?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. That's what we would help them come up with, a plan as to exactly the best way for flexibility to help them achieve the mission of the agency.
And how much does it cost to talk to you, Jamie?
Free.
Free, my favorite 4-letter word. So there you go. All right, so I'm gonna pause that real quick, and I'm gonna jump all the way back here to the original one that we were at, where the questions were. Got the best briefing ever. Let me go here, because I think that there's some really good questions here that you'd like to address. So the ideal workspace for configuration for hoteling is really dependent upon what you're doing at DOI.
That's a great question, because in the VA situation, we continually change that configuration because they were adding people, they were creating more divisions, etc. So we worked with them to design the configuration for what they needed today. And then we worked with them as it changed, and they had to change their hoteling configuration.
So that goes to, it really depends, and it depends on what ideal is, right? So ideal to DOI is different than it's going to be for HUD or EPA or DOJ. Look at the DOJ one here. They can't share space with commercial entities. They can't do it. And you had that situation with FEMA, because you had to have interagency usage of that facility that had to be compartmentalized, right?
And we had to set the FEMA where no one could enter that area but the FEMA people. There was many things we had to do in order to meet the FEMA requirements. But I think eventually the day will come where we and other companies, we'd be happy to be one of them, will build out facilities that'll be multi-agency, and each agency can give the capability of their employees to go and use that facility, but there'll be nobody in that facility but different agencies.
So you're saying that it's like a federal suite or a federal floor or a federal building, right? But
that is going to come. That is going to come.
I agree. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's where we're going to go. So getting back to some of the things.
By the way, anybody here who is interested, we can show them the facts of these case studies that we have and others where they can show their management at the agency the value of how hoteling helped the agency meet its mission.
Yep. And ultimately, also, what part of the mission for every agency has got to be enabling for best talent, no matter how they prefer to work, right? So, and the flexibility of that, and that could change based on the job role, right? Sometimes you're going to have to come into a place, and GSA was trying to skin this cat way before, and it didn't work. In doing the flex space internally with buildings, they tried, but it's adapting. We're all adapting, and COVID forced us into the adaptation, right? But at the end of the day, we want to get to a place where the agencies have the flexibility from daily, because if you got to pop in for a day, that's one thing. But if you have to have something set aside for your agency, where only your agency personnel, or even more like James here, who they can't share space with commercial, but they can share space with other feds, right? And certain other feds may not even be able to do that, right? So it is really getting it into, and I think your point is, hey, take this up the food chain and say, I sat on this crazy webinar thing with Jamie Jackson, and he had some ideas where we could do this. So we'll be glad to do this. Let's see here. Let's see. What were your thoughts on types of flexible workspace, specifically hot desking versus hoteling? Great question. Hot desking is what, Jamie?
Hot desking is that you can give the capability of some employees to reserve a desk inside the agency or inside a facility that we or somebody is running, and the employees working from home or wherever, and they can reserve a desk to go use that desk tomorrow, or use a conference room tomorrow. And there's multitude of people who have that capability. That is going to be a very prevalent type of flexibility going forward.
Yep. And here Deborah says, good points. We're definitely reducing our footprint in our org in favor of hoteling, and believe we'd have the same restriction, cannot share with non-fed entities. Exactly, Deborah. So here's the issue. The current IDIQ as GSA is released, it is specific that it does not facilitate a build out on the agency's behalf. So this goes in that same gapper area. And what we're doing, we're trying to solve the problem, right, Jamie? And one of the things we want to do, Deborah, if you have that situation, we want to help you get that solved with examples like this with GSA, so we can formulate we need to formulate the contract mechanism, right, Jamie?
Yeah, have multi agencies use a facility with hot desking or conference rooms or whatever inside the facility that they could use. Yeah,
exactly. And so it can be a combination of that hot desking, but just within the federal space. All right, let's see. Do we have any more questions
Dave,
before we jump?
My guess is the people that are saying that they need immediate help on flexible workspace, you're going from a long-term real estate environment to a total 100% telework environment. And now you need to come up with a flexible workspace that's going to be the future, which will be a combination of flexible workspace and long-term real estate assets. We and other people will be very happy to work with them on a plan like that.
Yep. And it may just be pointing you right over the GSA folks to help you solve the problem with hoteling or hot desking, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right. And
that's the important thing is that we're working to help people get to where you want to go. That's it. Right. That's the whole reason that we're doing this. So with that, we know we're a little bit over, but we appreciate the participations you have, Deborah. Great information there. And there we go. And one thing real quick, you'll get a recap email a little bit later today. If you are here, you'll have a link to the video. There'll be another follow-up that comes out with a more finalized video that you can show to your folks in the organization if you want to. The briefing presentation, the white paper you already have it, but we'll make sure you have a link to that. Any of the other supporting documents will be there, as well as scheduling agency assessment meetings if you would like. That is what we can do. And Jamie, I do believe they can reach out to you directly. Yes. And Tammy Medley says, great information. Thank you. You're welcome, Tammy. You can come back. So here's your information, Jamie. And they can reach directly. And otherwise, well, if you filled out any of the information, you're welcome, Ronette. I appreciate your feedback. And if you did fill that out, you'll get a contact back from Jamie on that, as well as a follow-up from GovBrief, so that you can get what you need. Anything else you guys need? Or we're ready to let these people get back to doing something for real work? What do you say, Jamie?
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And Flexible Workspace is here to stay.
I think you're right. All right, man. Have a great job. Appreciate it. And I'm loving the fact that we're helping to push things in the right direction on behalf of the employees as well as the agency heads to do this. Great job, Jamie. Appreciate it. Thanks much.